Okay, so if you're a student or researcher or maybe you just had to write a really complex memo this week,
Right.
you already know the big shift. Artificial intelligence. It's gone from this, futuristic idea to probably the most disruptive tool in our academic and professional lives.
It's a total revolution.
It really is.
Mm.
For years, we had tools like, Grammarly or Trinka.
Right. They were helpers.
They offered minor assistance, checking syntax, fixing some punctuation.
But then came the flood. ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, DeepSeek, Perplexity. These things just emerged seemingly overnight.
And they completely restructured the entire intellectual environment.
And that speed, I think that's the core of the dilemma here. We're navigating this powerful duality.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, the gains are just incredible. I mean, AI can summarize a dense 30-page journal article in, 3 bullet points? Instant.
Right. It's a huge productivity boost.
Huge. But on the flip side, this rapid access introduces some really serious ethical challenges that they strike right at the heart of academia.
You talk about authorship, originality.
Exactly. Who's the true author? What does originality even mean anymore? And then there's the pervasive, very subtle risk of unintentional plagiarism.
And since the tech is evolving so fast, the rules are just constantly playing catch-up. That void has created this massive ethical minefield for pretty much everyone. So for this deep dive, our mission is to cut through all that noise. We're going to unpack this explosive trend of AI in academic settings, from, high school kids struggling with history all the way up to senior researchers.
And we'll look at the real costly risks.
Exactly. And distill the practical, non-negotiable guidelines you need to use AI wisely and ethically. Okay, let's unpack this. Specifically, I think we have to start with just how quickly this became a fundamental part of the academic ecosystem. It's not optional anymore.
It really isn't. It's an undeniable fact that AI chatbots are used daily by students everywhere.
Undergrad, graduate, all levels.
All levels. But what we often miss, I think, is the psychological shift. It's not just that they can use it, it's that a lot of them feel they must use it to keep pace.
To keep up.
Yeah, they're dealing with these overwhelming workloads, and AI offers this instant relief from that cognitive burden.
And when you look at the raw data, the adoption speed is just, it's jaw-dropping.
Oh, it's not a steady increase over 10 years. Not at all.
No.
We have data, for instance, from a survey by the Higher Education Policy Institute, HEPI, in the UK.
Okay.
And their findings on AI use among students, well, it should alarm every institution. Student use went from 66% in 2024
66?
to a staggering 92% in 2025.
Wow. In 1 year.
In 1 year.
Yeah.
That's nearly every student. It's not a passing trend you can just ban. It's become foundational, like email or the library database.
And the utility justifies it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just talking about cheating.
No, not at all.
Think about the legitimate ways a student might use this. If you have writer's block, it can help you structure an outline.
Or suggest a counter-argument.
Yeah. Or if you're staring at, 50 source articles for a literature review, asking an AI to summarize the 5 core findings of each one is a huge time saver.
What's fascinating here is how quickly the functionality just outpaced institutional rulemaking.
Right.
Which leads directly to all this confusion about the boundaries. The tools moved at the speed of software, but academic governance that moves at the speed of committees.
Which is much, much slower.
Much slower.
And that speed difference, that lands us right in the middle of the core issue, this immense gray area.
Mm-hmm.
If 92% of students are using it, but maybe only 20% know the exact rules, you've got a problem.
And that's where the confusion breeds risk. We found 3 defining ethical questions that students are wrestling with every day, and they really show the ambiguity.
Okay, so the first one, and this is the most direct, is it okay to generate full paragraphs using an AI and then just copy and paste them into your essay?
Presenting them as your own work, maybe with a few minor tweaks.
Right.
And the second question, it gets into the nature of originality itself. If you feed your own, badly written paragraph into a chatbot and it completely rephrases it, restructures it, polishes it into something brilliant, is that still your original work?
Or did the AI just become a ghostwriter?
Exactly.
And the third one, which sounds innocent, but is so controversial,
right,
using AI just to polish your writing, replacing a human proofreader. Does that cross the line if you don't acknowledge it?
The frustrating truth is that the straight answer to all of those is, well, it depends.
And that's the problem.
That is the problem. The guidelines are not homogeneous. They can vary wildly across institutions, between departments, across disciplines.
Even between different academic journals.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we're in this highly decentralized environment of rulemaking, and that leaves the individual user really exposed.
That disciplinary nuance is something we really need to dig into because that's where a lot of students get tripped up.
It is.
Why would it be okay in one program but totally forbidden in the one right down the hall?
Well, it comes down to the core intellectual product that's being assessed. In a lot of STEM fields, say computer science or engineering AI use might be fine, maybe even encouraged for things like debugging code or summarizing technical literature.
Right, because the professor wants to see the final product, the algorithm that works.
Precisely. But now, look at the humanities, social sciences, law, or medicine. These fields place immense value on the process of discovery,
The journey.
the unique voice, the formation of a complex argument. If an algorithm is drafting that argument, then the intellectual journey, which is what's being assessed, has been outsourced.
So they're naturally going to be much stricter.
Much stricter.
So, okay, if you're listening to this and you're in a multidisciplinary program, that's where the friction happens.
It is.
The biggest takeaway for you, the learner, has to be this. You must always ask. Learn the limits specific to your institution, your department, and critically, your specific professor.
Don't just assume it's okay because your friend in physics does it.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people misunderstand these rules, the stakes are incredibly high. And the best way to understand that danger is to look at a couple of real-world cases that show the very serious consequences.
Okay, let's start with one involving a student in the UK. This person was under immense pressure.
Just completely stressed out.
Totally. Struggling with stress, facing 2 really short deadlines, and was also sick with COVID at the time.
Oh, wow.
So in desperation, they turned to an AI chatbot and used it to write a full essay for submission.
So this wasn't just for help. This was full replacement.
It was. But the system is adapting. The lecturer scanned the essay using detection software, and the misuse was flagged immediately.
And the consequence.
It was severe. She faced an academic misconduct panel.
And we should be clear what that is.
We should. It's a formal body, senior university officials, and they have the genuine power to expel students for cheating.
So she could have been kicked out of university.
She came perilously close. They ultimately forgave her because of the extenuating circumstances, the deadlines, the illness. But the trauma of that experience is permanent.
It just shows the detection systems are real and the penalties are too.
They are.
That's terrifying. And then there's the second case, which actually reached a courtroom in the U.S.
Right. This involved a teenager in Massachusetts. It's high school, not university, but it perfectly illustrates the central flaw of these tools.
What happened?
So the student copied and pasted text from an AI chatbot for a history assignment. And the key devastating flaw was this. The AI included citations to non-existent books.
Oh, no.
It's a classic example of AI hallucination, creating highly convincing but totally fabricated information.
That is the ultimate smoking gun. You can argue about authorship, but if your paper cites books that don't exist, game over.
Pretty much. The punishment was significant. Saturday detention, a lower grade, and he was initially rejected from the National Honor Society.
And the parents sued the school.
They did. They sued, arguing the school violated his due process rights.
What was their legal argument there?
It centered on the lack of clear rules. They claimed the student was confused because he was allowed to use AI to generate ideas, but the line on generating actual text was vague.
So he was penalized for crossing an invisible line.
That was the argument. It just highlights the confusion when policy lags behind the technology.
And these two cases, they connect perfectly to a finding from the Journal of Academic Ethics.
They do.
They found nearly a third of students admitted using ChatGPT for homework, but the crucial part was they often did it without understanding the ethical implications.
They didn't see that a paragraph citing a fake book was cheating. They just saw it as a tool they could use.
So that brings us to the crucial part. If the policies are a confusing patchwork and the stakes are this high, how do you navigate this right now?
Right. Let's transition into a practical guide. Let's say 4 non-negotiable principles for navigating this.
This needs to be the survival guide. The checklist you run through every time you open a chatbot for academic work.
Absolutely. We have to move beyond just don't cheat and into how to properly integrate.
Okay, so let's start with rule number 1, which might be the hardest for a lot of students. Transparency.
The first cardinal rule is simple. If an algorithm touched your paper, you need to confess.
You have to declare it.
Transparency is non-negotiable. You must disclose how and where you used AI. Whether it was to check references, summarize a chapter, or draft an intro, you have to say so.
So, in a footnote or an appendix.
Yes, don't try to pass off algorithmically generated work as purely your own. That is the definition of misrepresentation.
That's a huge shift. Okay, what's rule number 2?
Number 2 is understand policies. We've talked a lot about the different rules in different places. So this is just a reminder.
Don't assume.
Don't assume it's allowed just because everyone's doing it. If you are in doubt, you have to proactively ask your lecturer or check your institution's official written policies before you submit.
The burden of proof is on the student.
Entirely.
Okay, I think the third principle is where people really get into trouble because it defines the boundary between utility and fraud.
Precisely. Number 3 is paramount. Use AI for support, not replacement. These tools are brilliant assistants. Use them for the low-stakes work. Brainstorming, organizing sources, creating first-pass summaries. They are explicitly not meant for generating the intellectual meat of high-stakes work.
Meaning entire assignments, theses.
Entire university assignments, master's dissertations, doctoral theses, or journal articles. If the core argument comes from the machine, you are not the author.
You have to be the intellectual engine.
You do.
And finally, the most academic of all the rules, but the one that's constantly in flux because of AI.
Number 4. Cite as you write. This is the bread and butter of academic work, but the rules are changing. You have to be familiar with the citation rules for whatever style you're using, APA, Chicago, Vancouver.
And they're all scrambling to figure this out.
They are. Every single style guide is trying to define how to properly attribute AI models.
So if I use ChatGPT to summarize a concept, how do I even cite that? The model name, the version.
And that's the challenge. The norms are changing constantly, so you need to check the official style guide websites often.
Yeah.
Or, even better, talk directly to your university librarian. They are the frontline experts on this stuff. They will have the most current guidance.
So if we boil down those 4 rules, transparency, policy awareness, support not replacement, and citation, it really comes down to one big principle, doesn't it?
It does. Despite everything AI can do, critical thinking must always prevail. The technology can produce text, but it can't produce judgment or original synthesis.
The human element.
Yes. The user has to be in full control of the work, not outsourcing that crucial intellectual journey to an algorithm. That journey is what you're ultimately paying for.
Right. Now, the responsibility doesn't just fall on students. Educators have a massive responsibility to adapt here. We can't just forbid AI.
No, you have to teach students how to use it wisely.
So what are the best educators doing?
They're moving from prohibition to pedagogy. So first, they're updating their course syllabi to include clear, explicit AI policies.
No more guesswork.
Exactly. It eliminates the confusion. Clarity is kindness here.
And they're redesigning the assignments themselves, which is crucial.
Yes. Designing assessments that reward critical thinking and originality, which makes the copy-paste strategy totally pointless.
How so?
So, for example, instead of asking for a summary of a famous historical event, they might ask students to analyze a recent hyper-specific local policy change.
Something that an AI can't access because the data isn't public yet.
Exactly. It forces the student to integrate real-time data. You can't outsource that kind of critical thinking.
I'm smart.
And, what's more, educators need to create open classroom discussions to clarify doubts. And most importantly, they have to be honest about AI's limitations.
Like the fact that they lie sometimes.
They don't just lie, they hallucinate.
Right.
They produce inaccurate or totally unsubstantiated responses with the confidence of a seasoned academic. Educators have to show students examples of these convincing lies.
So the student develops the critical background to spot them.
Yes. So they know that Napoleon invented the internet in 1805 is just fundamentally wrong, and they don't just copy it because it sounds smart.
And on a bigger scale, institutions are starting to provide frameworks for this too.
They have to. These frameworks offer a baseline for internal policies. For instance, the University of Oxford has developed a really influential ethical framework for AI in research.
And in the UK, the Russell Group of universities did something similar.
Yes, they publish their principles on the use of generative AI tools. They focus on fostering integrity while maximizing the pedagogical benefits.
And internationally.
Looking internationally, the Australian government, through TQSA, has developed a really helpful and public generative AI knowledge hub. It's designed to help institutions face these challenges.
So putting all this together, the main message today is pretty clear. AI is here to stay. And that reality shouldn't be seen as this, hidden ethical minefield or mousetrap waiting to catch students. With the right awareness, clear guidance, and crucially, personal transparency, it can be a really powerful ally in learning and research.
So what does this all mean? It means success in this new academic era hinges entirely on aligning technology use with intellectual integrity.
Right.
The moment you view AI as a shortcut to outsmart your peers or your professors, that is the moment you cross the line and expose yourself to all this risk.
Use the tool to amplify your own intellect.
Not to replace it.
That raises a huge question that should linger in the back of your mind as you use these tools. If AI can instantly draft a comprehensive argument based on everything ever written, how does academic assessment have to evolve to truly measure genuine human originality and critical synthesis? If the answers are all available instantly, what is the university actually measuring in your work? And how can you ensure that you remain the undisputed author of your own intellectual journey? That's something worth thinking about as you move forward.